Oh, I know that fans have been waiting for this for a long time. It didn't happen throughout the entire 2025 draft. It finally has happened at pick number 127 in the fourth round of this 2026 draft. An offensive lineman, offensive tackle in college. We'll see exactly where he plays in the National Football League. This is Carver Willis. First Kansas State, then Washington. Joins the 49ers again at pick number 127. The first thing that I do when I look at offensive linemen is take a look at the arm length and then the measurables as far as their explosiveness goes. 32 and a half inch arms, not overly long for this offensive lineman, Carver Willis, which leads me to believe that the 49ers might be looking at him as a guard, even though he does not have any guard experience, nothing on the interior. So this could be a big projection for San Francisco. In fact, if you look at the relative athletic score, it is not particularly eye-popping for Carver Willis. Popping it open on the screen right now. There you can see it. The size is not great. He's been between 6'4 and 6'5", 303 pounds. I think that you either want more size or you want real explosion with long arms at the tackle position. He doesn't have either of those. So I would think that this is more of a guard for the 49ers moving forward, just based on the physical profile. You've got decent explosion with the broad jump, the vertical leap, not that's in the red. The best physical trait for Carver Willis is the 40-yard dash. So he can move at 5'1". Now, the 49ers like their guards to be able to move as well. They require a lot of reach blocks, getting to the second level, and it's just really hard to project exactly how this guy is going to look on the interior. That is why it's up to Chris Furster and the 49ers scouting department to determine where Carver Willis is going to play. But another developmental offensive lineman for San Francisco. I know that they picked Connor Colby in the 7th round last year. I know that I said they didn't pick a guy, and they picked Colby at the very end of the 2025 draft. They use slightly more valuable draft capital this year. If you look at Carver Willis's relative athletic score versus guards, it looks a whole heck of a lot better, right? So this is versus tackles. See a lot of red, right? If you look at it versus guards, we just flopped it over to guards. There's more green, more yellow. The weight is still relatively light. He might have to add some weight at the NFL level, but a 7.93 relative athletic score, very fast compared to guards at 5'1". The broad jump, really strong compared to other guards. So typically there's more athleticism on the outside than there is on the inside, and perhaps the 49ers are focused on guard with maybe some developmental capability as a tackle, but the 49ers don't have a specific need for the offensive tackle position in 2026. They've re-signed Trent Williams. They have Colton McKivitz under contract for several more years. That was finished before the 2025 season kicked off against the Seattle Seahawks. They're paying Trent Williams $37 million fully guaranteed over the next 2 years, which is not an amount that you pay somebody whom you expect to only play 1 year. So tackle for the 49ers in the short run is set. They like Vidarian Lowe as well, the swing tackle that they added. So I think that they're set at both tackles and the swing position. It's guard where both Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have repeatedly said that they need to add more into the competition. And I think that Carver Willis does project there. Dane Brugler says that Willis is quick off the snap, especially as a puller in the run game. And that is a trait that I think really does corroborate our theory that this guy's going to play guard at the NFL level for the 49ers. That left guard position especially is going to be asked to pull when the 49ers are running power. And they have run power at a greater regularity than ever before under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Now, you look at the prototype of the players who have played at left guard for San Francisco. They've liked durable guys there. They've, I think, liked a little bit more muscle there, but more than anything, I think that athleticism is never going to go out of style for the 49ers, especially if you are running power. The left guard does pull. And I don't care if they only run power 15 or 20% of the time. It is another tool in San Francisco's arsenal. And that left guard is going to have to be able to execute on power in order to maintain a credible threat of it, so that you can run outside zone and you can run play action off of the threat of that power. They signed Robert Jones this offseason, and I think that Jones, although he moves well off the ball like Carver Willis, Jones is more of a power background offensive lineman. So right now, and we're going to put Carver Willis here into the 49ers depth chart. Right now, I've got Jones as the 49ers top option. Carver Willis, we're going to put him ahead of Connor Colby. We can even move Colby over to the right side as depth. Now, Colby obviously is going to compete for that guard spot. But Willis, who knows? It could also be that he's a year away because he's only played tackle at this point. I really want to hear from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch about where they expect him to be. I do think that this makes the most sense because they've looked at the free agent edition, Brett Toth, as more of a center. They have mentioned that he's going to be somebody that factors into the guard competition. But I think that Toth is the backup for Brendel, who's 34 years old. And, there could even be a thought process from the 49ers that they really like how smart Carver Willis is, and they could start developing him as a potential heir apparent to Brendel at the center position. Keep in mind that Jake is 34 years old, entering his final season under contract. We thought that the 49ers might be interested in Keelan Rutledge at number 27 in the first round, but then the Texans traded up to number 26, drafted Rutledge. The 49ers immediately traded back out of 27. We don't have that confirmed, but Rutledge could have been a player who started at left guard in his career and then moved over to center to take over for Jake Brendel. There's obviously a lot of cerebral know-how necessary for that center position, so you can't expect the rookie to just jump in there and take over immediately. Brugler says that Carver Willis, let me make sure that I have his name highlighted. Yeah, Carver Willis, good. Has the range to cut off linebackers from the backside, which is very important for the 49ers who are trying to get into that second level with the guard position. Plays wide in pass sets with strength in his hands and hips to lose slowly. That is a key for offensive linemen, believe it or not, these days. Lose slowly. It's hard to win at all against defensive linemen. I think there's been that proliferation of athleticism across defensive linemen moving from different positions in the NFL. Offensive linemen have struggled to play catch up. So losing slowly is a skill that must be mastered. He's fluid with his adjustments in space when reacting to wide rushers, and he strains and finishes with a salty play demeanor. A salty play demeanor for Carver Willis. The 49ers seem to have really been valuing discipline and just, I would say, want to in this NFL draft. Romello Height, for example, the edge rusher whom the 49ers picked yesterday, the 49ers have a hair on fire score. They'll look at somebody's tape and they'll say, okay, this guy ranks wherever he does as far as playing with his hair on fire. Romello Height topped all of the 49ers draft picks in the hair on fire score. The new offensive lineman here, Carver Willis, has a salty play demeanor, according to Dane Brugler. And earlier today, when we talked about the 49ers defensive tackle pick, just 20 spots before this offensive line selection, Grayson Halton, Dane Brugler wrote that he goes after quarterbacks like a banshee when he has a clear line of sight in front of them. So the 49ers going hard after the want to in this NFL draft. An NFL scout told Dane Brugler that there were mixed reviews at Kansas State. The overconfidence of Carver Willis rubbed some the wrong way, but the kid grew up and was considered a leader at Washington. So it was Kansas State at both right tackle and left tackle for several seasons from 2020 to 2024. Then he was a full-time left tackle starter after transferring to Washington in 2025. Some of the cons listed by Brugler, this is something that we saw in the relative athletic score. He is somebody who has underdeveloped bulk. So let's go back to the size charts here for the offensive lineman out of Washington. 303 pounds, which means that, he's not, I think that you're going to want 310 or more in the NFL, especially if you're moving him inside to the guard position. And at 303, he's probably a tad light. There is going to have to be, if he does move inside, and this is all based on supposition, there is going to have to be a reconstruction of some of the thought process and the skill set here. And I think, part of the reconstruction is also going to be a look at where he needs to be body-wise. Is this somebody who can succeed on the inside at 303 pounds, or is it going to have to be 310 plus? And that's something that an NFL weight room will likely take care of. Brugler does agree with me. He says that the body length and dimensions here likely require a move to the interior for Carver Willis. And, he's somebody who the final kind of verdict on Willis is that he's at his best sealing and finishing in the run game. His salty demeanor makes him finish. He is intent on blocking through his blocks, but his ability to stay on an NFL field will depend on how he protects his edges and anchors in pass protection. That obviously is something correlated with his weight, or the lack thereof at this point, at only those 303 pounds. Carver Willis projects as a backup swing lineman with the upside to be more. The 49ers have not valued guard very highly at all. They haven't paid a guard big money at all in the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch tenure. So it's one of those things where the 49ers probably are only anticipating, unless this guy is an absolute star, unless he blossoms into that, you only anticipate him playing for you within his rookie contract, and then you move on to the next rookie contract guard. That's how it has worked for the 49ers at left guard. Back at the start of this regime, they traded for Laken Tomlinson. He ended up being a longer-term guard for them up through the 2021 season. Then they moved to a draft pick in Aaron Banks. He played out his rookie deal. And ever since then, the 49ers have been trying to figure that position out with a little bit more consistency. We've seen Spencer Burford there. We've seen Ben Barch there. We've seen John Feliciano play at the guard position for the 49ers. Right guard has typically been more of a problem for the 49ers than left guard, although I would say that this past season, or the past two seasons, since they picked up Dominic Pooney, the 49ers have been better at right guard than at left guard. Now, left guard is a spot where they have announced and they have been very, very adamant about the need to add more competition. The 49ers are now going to pick at number 139. This was 127 for Carver Willis, but the 49ers have traded now for the fifth time in this NFL draft. The Ravens traded 154 and a 2027 sixth rounder to the 49ers for 133. So the 49ers are now going to be picking next at 139. I think it's clear right now that San Francisco, they're not huge fans of this NFL draft, as they have already managed to trade down into next year's draft with the Baltimore Ravens. So next pick is 139. Finally, San Francisco picks up an O-lineman. We'll talk to you in a few minutes when the 49ers pick next.